figure I'm going to diagnose this old school. Not that I'm not going to use books or all data or whatever it needs. I'm doing this without my cell phone. So I know if I break down, I'm walking back. That's old school, just baby. Did it. Start battery, fuel gauge, stove temperature. My speedometer was working, but that's not electronic. And it just cut off like that. So let's see if it restarts. Well, that's never a good sign. Where's my cell phone now? See, that's making me wonder right there. I got no, whatchamacallit, nothing from the tack at all. Let me cool down a second. Let's see what we get. Let's take a minute break. So, if I had another person with me right now, I could find out if I lost fuel, spark, fuel and spark. Because if it's fuel, you go to the fuel pump, but I don't think that's what it is, the way it cuts off. If I'm losing spark only, then you lean to whatever would just control the spark, but not the fuel, to keep the fuel running. If you're losing them both, then you lean towards what controls them both. But since I'm stuck here on the side of the road alone, we can't figure that out. That got it running again. Oops, maybe a little too close. I want to know if you could see it. As it cranks, you will see the tack shake just a hair. And then it fires. Before when it was cranking, it wasn't even shaking the hair. So now we lean right towards something ignition related. Computer, module, the crank sensor again. I gotta find out how Renault did it. I'm used to them using the crank sensor and the cam sensor to find cylinder 1, then it fires and the cam sensor turns off. I don't know if Renault does it that way. So the cam sensor would be in that distributor. The crank sensor he just did, but who knows, it could be an off-ball brand. So, at least we're heading in the right direction. I know in 1995 when they came out with the Eclipse that had the 428 Chrysler motor in it. If you bought a lower line, that's what it came with. It didn't come with the 2.4 liter Mitsu. The whole wiring harness was Chrysler, and the cars would do the same exact thing. You drive it, and it would just cut out. And if you were on the road testing it, you brought a hammer with you because you went outside, you started whacking the ECU, and it would fire up again. So I gotta find the ECU in this car. I'm wondering if it's wet or got wet, because when I look at the left side kick panel, all the tin in there is solid rust, like something's been leaking for years. And looking inside this car, I don't doubt it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'd like to diagnose and fix this car before I pull this motor out, or else I'm just going to transfer the problem over. So let me drive, because I know it's going to cut out. Another thing that has me leaning towards an ECU problem is when this car does refire and you start it up those couple of times, it races to 3,000 for its initial start. Okay, usually a car does that when it has to relearn, and then the next time you start it, it'll adjust a little lower and a little lower until it picks whatever their speed is. I know the cars I work on is around 14 to 1600, then it tapers right down. I know none of them are 3,000. So, and if you drive this car for a while, you start it up, it only goes up to like 2,000, a little less. Then once it has its problem, and you start it up a couple times after that, it goes to 3,000. So, it sounds like something's warming up in that computer and opening. So I gotta find it. I've tested it a couple of times, and every time it cranks, you get a little fluctuation from the tack. I disconnected the crank sensor, and so apparently it's not using that to give me a tack signal, the cam sensor. I'm talking and looking at the same time, and this thing gets freaking hot. Stupid ass Chrysler. Why not mount this shit an inch above the manifold like half the other stuff? The distributor gets so hot you can't touch it. So well, I think it's time to test this crank sensor. See, but the problem is I gotta wait for it to do it and then continue to do it. Like when I was coming home and it stalled, it fired right up. This time I had to let it sit for 5 minutes. That would have been the perfect time to test it. That's what sucks. Sometimes you know what to do, but you just can't do it. I also want to check the pins. I could see, I could see the connector's brand new on this end. But, here's the original wiring harness. Wiring harness end. So, it looks like these are males and those are females. Even though if you look at them quick, they look like the male ends of a boat connector. So, and like I said, the days of Chrysler, did they have pin fitment problems? Like you wouldn't believe. So, I think I'm going to try tightening those pins real quick. I don't know. That crank sense is looking a little iffy. Like I said, I got to test it. I got to get it to do it. So what I'm probably going to have to do is just fire this thing up and let it run until it dies. And hopefully I'm around when it dies. Sounds like a job for Monday. Sunday's Father's Day. I'm not touching this on Father's Day. So, like I said, I want to get it diagnosed. Yeah, hopefully when this thing goes in the car, you won't see half of this crap. And the only thing that's going to be on is the power steering. The other car doesn't have AC, so to get rid of all that crap, I'm going to try and put the box in and just neaten everything up, taking the cruise control off it. And, all the stuff you see on the sides will be gone. I'll neaten up all the wiring and just put it in one little area. And the serpentine belt will probably be gone too. I'll set this motor up just like the old school one. With a fan in the center. I'll put the Saginaw power steering back on. Maybe just part the scrap out. Everything works well. Four-wheel drive works, everything works. So I'm going to tighten the pins and call it a night.